held me like a question, like something undecided, close enough to keep me warm, far enough to stay divided. You gave me all your softer parts, but never all of you. Just enough to make me hope, not enough to make it true. I kept reading into pauses, like they had something kind to say. Built a future out of moments you were never meant to stay. I made certainty from fragments and called the ache devotion. You love me like a maybe, like a feeling passing through, like something you could reach for but never fully choose. You gave me almost everything except the part that stays, and the cruelest kind of heartbreak is being loved like a maybe. I learned to live in question marks, in almost and delays, in all the little ways you cared without enough to stay. I turned your distance into timing, your silence into space, made excuses for your leaving before you walked away. I kept asking less and less till I fit your hands with ease, and still somehow I was too much for a heart that spoke in maybes. You gave me all the language, but never gave me truth. You love me like a maybe, like a feeling passing through, like something you could reach for but never fully choose. You gave me almost everything except the part that stays, and the cruelest kind of heartbreak is being loved like a maybe. Love is not uncertainty, not warmth without a name, not a hand that keeps you close while keeping you unclaimed. And maybe what still hurts the most is not what you withheld, it's how long I let your maybe love convince me it was real. You love me like a maybe, but I deserved a yes. Something certain, something honest, not this beautiful unrest. You gave me almost everything except the part I need, and the strongest thing I've ever learned is never let someone love you like a maybe. You loved me like a maybe, and I called it enough. You loved me like a question, like something unresolved, like your heart was standing near me, but never truly involved. You held me with hesitation, with one hand on goodbye, close enough to keep me hoping, far enough to never try. I gave you all my certainty, you gave me room to doubt, and I kept building trust around the things you left out. I was steady in my loving, you were only passing through. You were never sure of me, never sure enough to stay, never sure enough to choose me in the clear and honest way. You kept me in the in-between, where almost felt like truth, and the hardest part of loving you was how unsure you made me too. I learned to live in hesitation, in your silence and delay, in every almost conversation that still found a way to fade. You gave me pieces dressed as promise, just enough to keep me near, and I mistook your indecision for something soft and sincere. I kept waiting for your certainty, like it was late, not gone. But some people never choose you, they just keep you holding on. I was all in from the start, you were never fully there. You were never sure of me, never sure enough to stay, never sure enough to choose me in the clear and honest way. You kept me in the in-between, where almost felt like truth, and the hardest part of loving you was how unsure you made me too. Love should not feel borrowed, should not come with one foot out. It should not make you question what your heart already knows about. And maybe what still hurts the most is not that you were unsure, it's how long I let your uncertainty make me forget my worth. You were never sure of me, but now I'm sure of this. Love should not arrive uncertain and call confusion bliss. You kept me in the in-between, but I know what love must do, and the strongest thing I've ever learned is never beg for certainty from someone never sure of you. You were never sure of me, now I finally am. I came to you with open hands, you came with half a heart. I was ready for forever, you were only ready for parts. I gave you all my honesty, you gave me doubt to hold, and I kept calling your silence something softer than cold. I waited where you hesitated, turned your fear into delay, built a home inside your almost, and begged your heart to stay. I was ready to be chosen, you were only ready to be loved. You were never ready for me, never ready to be real, never ready for love. You would actually have to feel. You wanted all my softness without the weight of trust. And the hardest thing I've learned is almost love is never enough. I made excuses for your distance, called your silence just your pace, turned your uncertainty to caution so I could keep you in place. I kept shrinking what I needed till it fits your half-made care. Still somehow I was too much for a heart half living there. I gave you all my daylight, you gave me shadows in return, and I kept standing in your smoke, trying not to feel the burn. I was ready to be held, you were only ready to be missed. You were never ready for me, never ready to be real, never ready for love. You would actually have to feel. You wanted all my softness without the weight of trust. And the hardest thing I've learned is almost love is never enough. Love should not be hesitation, not a hand that almost stays, not a heart that wants the comfort but keeps the truth away. And maybe what still hurts the most is not what you could not do, it's how long I kept believing love could grow inside of you. You were never ready for me, but I was never asking much. Just someone brave enough for love, someone certain enough to trust. Now I know what love should feel like, and I know what this was. You were never ready for me, and almost love is never enough. You were never ready for me. You stay just close enough to hurt, just close enough to keep me, close enough to feel like love, far enough to leave me empty. You held me like a temporary, like something warm to pass the time. And I kept calling it forever, while you never called it mine. I made a home inside your maybe, built my hope on borrowed time. You gave me just enough to stay, never enough to call me yours. You were never far enough to lose, never close enough to love, too close to leave, too far to stay. You kept me in between, then slowly walked away. Close enough to keep me hoping, far enough to never choose. And the cruelest kind of heartbreak is loving someone too close to lose. I learned the shape of hesitation in the silence of your hands, how someone can keep you near without ever making plans. I turned your distance into patience, turned you down into delay. Kept believing almost love would somehow learn to stay. But love should never feel this fragile, never feel this hard to name. And no one warns you half a heart can still break yours the same. You were never far enough to forget, never close enough to keep, too close to leave, too far to stay. You kept me in between, then slowly walked away. Close enough to keep me hoping, far enough to never choose. And the cruelest kind of heartbreak is loving someone too close to lose. Maybe that's what hurt the deepest, not that you were never mine, but how close you came to loving me, then left me just behind. Too close to leave, too far to stay. You gave me just enough to break me anyway. Close enough to feel like something, far enough to not be true. And the hardest kind of almost love is the kind that almost chooses you. Too close to leave, too far to stay. You kept me in the quiet space between your doubt and need, close enough to feel your warmth, too far to be believed. You reached for me in lonely nights, then left me in the day. And I kept calling that love while you kept looking away. I gave you all my certainty, you gave me room to guess, and I kept turning your confusion into something less. I was always in your head, parts of love you didn't have to feel. You kept me close for comfort, not close enough to keep. And the cruelest kind of heartbreak is loving someone who never chose me. I made excuses for your distance, called your silence just your way, turned your fear into a reason so I would have to stay. I kept shrinking what I needed till I fit your half-made trust. Still somehow I was too much for someone built on almost. You gave me all your maybe, and I gave you all of me. That's how I learned the heart is true. Almost love still bleeds. I was always something soft. You were never something sure. You never chose me, not fully, not for real. You only chose the parts of love you didn't have to feel. You kept me close for comfort, not close enough to keep. And the cruelest kind of heartbreak is loving someone who never chose me. Love should not feel borrowed, should not leave you half-believed. It should not hold you in its arms and still refuse to keep. And maybe what still hurts the most is not what we went through, it's how long I kept choosing someone who never chose me to. You never chose me, but now I'm choosing me. No more waiting in the half-light for what love could never be. You kept me close for comfort. Now I finally see the strongest thing I've ever done was stop begging to be chosen by you. You never chose me. You never chose me. So I finally did. You only called when nights got heavy, when silence got too loud, when empty rooms and tired thoughts started pulling you down. You reached for me like comfort, like somewhere safe to land. Never like forever, never like a hand to stand in. I was your midnight answer, your soft place to fall through, but morning always took you back to everything but true. You loved me in the dark, but never in the daylight. You only loved me when lonely, only when the night ran deep, only when your heart got heavy and needed mine to keep. You held me like a shelter, not like something true. And the cruelest kind of heartbreak is being loved. of being needed, but never being known, of being someone's warmth at night, then waking up alone. You gave me just enough softness to make me think you care, but love should not disappear the second daylight's there. I kept calling it affection, kept calling it enough, but being someone's loneliness is not the same as love. You wanted all my comfort without the weight of staying. You only loved me when lonely, only when the night ran deep, only when your heart got heavy and needed mine to keep. You held me like a shelter, not like something true, and the cruelest kind of heartbreak is being loved only when lonely. Love should not arrive in darkness, then vanish with the dawn. It should not need your emptiness to make itself feel warm. And maybe what still hurts the most is not what you took from me, it's how long I called it love when it was only loneliness, needing company. You only love me when lonely, but lonely is not love. And now I know the difference between being needed and being enough. You held me like a shelter, but never like the truth, and the strongest thing I've ever learned is never call it love when someone only loves you lonely. You only love me when lonely. Don't hold me like a question, don't love me halfway through, don't give me just enough to stay, then disappear from truth. I've lived inside your almost, I've worn your silence thin. I know what it feels like to be that close but never in. I've begged enough from fragments, I've made peace with too little. Now I'd rather lose you honest than be kept inside the middle. If you want me fully. If you don't, then let me go. Love me in full, or don't love me at all. Don't keep me in your half-light just to watch me fall. Don't call me when you're lonely, don't reach when nights get hard. I'd rather break from truth than heal inside your half-heart. Love me in full, or let me go. Won't live on borrowed feelings. inside your doubt. I won't turn your indecision into something I can't live without. I've made homes inside excuses, built forever out of fear. But love should not feel borrowed, and I won't disappear. You can keep your almost maybe, you can keep your halfway touch. I have learned the hardest lesson: almost love is not enough. If you need me fully. If not, then leave me whole. Love me in full, or don't love me at all. Don't keep me in your half light just to watch me fall. Don't call me when you're lonely. Don't reach when nights get hard. I'd rather break from truth than heal inside your half heart. Love me in full, or let me go. I am not a place to rest until your fear moves on. I am not your in-between, you're almost or you're done. I am someone worth the kind of love that doesn't come in parts. So if you cannot give me your, don't touch my heart. Love me in full, or don't love me at all. I won't live inside your almost. I won't beg for what should fall. Don't reach for me in pieces. Don't love me halfway through. The strongest thing I've ever learned is I'd rather lose your almost than lose myself to you. Love me in full, or let me go.
You gave me half of your heart, and I gave you all of mine. I kept trying to make forever out of borrowed time. You held me with one hand open, one hand on the door, and I kept calling it enough while needing something more. I turned you down to patience, your distance into space, made a home inside your almost, and called it love to stay. I was all in from the start. You only gave me half your heart. Half of your heart was enough to keep me hoping, enough to keep me close, but never enough to hold me. Half of your heart was enough to make me stay, and the cruelest kind of heartbreak is when almost love feels safe. I learned to live on fractions, on silence and delay, on all the little ways you cared, without enough to stay. You gave me warmth in pieces, just enough to blur the I kept stitching all your fragments into something I could lose. I called you fear a reason, I called you doubt a phase. But love should never leave you begging for what stays. I was ready to be chosen. You were only halfway there. Half of your heart was enough to keep me open, enough to keep me close, but never enough to hold me. Half of your heart was enough to make me stay. And the cruelest kind of heartbreak is when almost love feels safe. Love should not come in portions, not if it's meant to last. It should not leave you starving for the half it never has. And maybe what still hurts the most is not what you could not do, it's how long I kept believing half a heart could love me too. Half of your heart was never going to heal me, never going to stay, never going to choose me. Half of your heart taught me what love is not, and the strongest thing I've ever learned is stop calling half a lot. Half of your heart was never enough. You liked me in the easy ways, in quiet and soft light, when I asked for almost nothing and made your wrong feel right. You liked me when I stayed simple, when I never asked for more, when loving me was comfort, not something worth the war. I gave you all my open, you gave me just enough to keep me in your orbit, but never in your love. You liked being needed more than you liked me. I was just not me enough, not enough to make you stay, enough to keep around, not enough to choose in daylight, enough to hold at midnight, not enough to call your own. And the cruelest kind of heartbreak is being almost loved, but never known. I learned to make your distance feel softer than it was, turned every cold excuse into something I could trust. I kept shrinking what I needed till I fit your half-made care. Still somehow I was too much for a heart that wasn't there. You wanted all my softness without the weight of truth, wanted love without the choosing, and still I gave it to you. You like the way I loved you, not the person that I was.
what still hurts the most is not what you couldn't do. It's how long I let your almost love convince me I was less than true. I was never not enough. You were just never enough for love. And now I know the difference between being wanted and being chosen. You held me close in shadows. Now I finally know the strongest thing I've ever learned is almost love must go. I was never not enough. You just were not enough for love.
You loved me least when I loved you most. When I was all in, you were almost. I gave you all my opens, you gave me room to wait, and I kept calling your silence something softer than too late. You held me like a comfort, like somewhere safe to land, but never like forever, never like a steady hand. I was easiest to lose the moment I loved true. You loved me least when I needed more. When I asked for truth, you gave me closed doors. You loved me best when I asked for less. And the cruelest kind of heartbreak is being loved least when you love best. You liked me in the quiet, in the parts that asked for none, in the version of me smaller than the woman I'd become. I learned to make your distance feel softer than goodbye, turned every almost into hope and every hurt to why. You wanted all my softness without the weight of stay, and I kept calling that enough while you kept slipping away. You loved me most in pieces, never whole enough to keep. You loved me least when
me least, when I loved you